Remember, the group doesn't support the creation of the consumer agency and didn't back passage of the Wall Street Reform Act. Elizabeth Warren joins us live from the meeting in San Diego with the CNBC exclusive. And on the heels of that introduction, let me ask you, what's your reception been like so far? And what comments have you gotten from those community bankers that are there?
You know, so far I have to say it's been a really nice reception. I've been visiting with people in the hallways and in the elevators. But remember, I've now talked to community bankers in all 50 states. I've really reached out and had a lot of long conversations with people from all around the country. So, you know, we've already started a good conversation. This is not a surprise.
What do they say in those conversations? What's their biggest problem or their biggest complaint or the thing that they ask you for help with?
You know, I think there are two things that community bankers have really been focused on. One has been that they are very worried about regulatory burdens. They are very small financial institutions. When someone passes a regulation in Washington, you know, it's something that the big financial institutions, the ones that can hire an army of lawyers, can deal with. But for community banks, the consequences of trying to comply can just be crushing. That's why we are actually building into our first initiatives places where we can cut down on the regulatory burden and even the playing field a little bit between the big financial institutions and the small ones. Similarly, community banks are very worried about the competition they face from what are often unlicensed or under-licensed financial services providers, you know, mortgage brokers, payday lenders. And what they want to see is a level playing field there. And that's what we're doing at the consumer agency. We are actually building a police force so that we will have the same kind of enforcement of the laws for the non-bank lenders as for the bank lenders.
Ms. Warren, the Bureau goes live, if you will, in July, and still there's nobody picked to head it. Would you accept a recess nomination from the president? If not, do you think you would be confirmed by the Senate?
You know, I want to be clear on this. There's a process in place that the president is using to try to figure out what to do to head the new consumer agency, and we've done what we can to contribute to that. But beyond that, that's in his lane. I spend 14 hours a day trying to get the pieces of this new consumer agency put together. You know, I feel like Bob the Builder most of the time. I'm over here working on how the pieces
but do you want
together.
that? Do you want that job? Do you want the job?
The job I want is the job I'm doing right now, and that is putting this consumer agency together.
Let's bring in Steve Leisman is with us here as well. Steve, you have a question?
Yeah, Ms. Warren, among the criticisms of the new agency from the Republicans is that it is too powerful. The leader of the agency is too powerful. There's a proposal on the table to make the leadership of the new consumer finance agency more like the SEC with a board of commissioners. How do you react to that proposal?
Well, I want to start with the premise about whether or not this agency is too powerful. You know, it has all the same restrictions as every other agency in government. It's got to abide by the Administrative Procedures Act, and it can be overturned by courts, and Congress itself can overturn it. But this agency is subject to two other powerful restraints that no other agency is subject to. The first one on money is that this agency, unlike the other banking regulators, does not set its own budget. Its budget is set by the Fed. And the second, and the most surprising from anywhere in government, is that this is an agency that can be, whatever it decides, can be overturned by a group of other agencies. You know, we have nothing like that anywhere in government. In other words, this is the most constrained of all the federal agencies. I think we can live with that. I think we've got enough here to get the job done that needs to be done. But the notion that somehow, if you're speaking out on behalf of consumers, we need to beat you down a little more. There need to be fewer. You need to have fewer powers. It just seems wrong to me.
I'll take it that you oppose then the Republican suggestion. On another front, another area of criticism is that you have overstepped your bounds by joining with the state's attorneys general in a widespread mortgage service agreement, and among those things in there that it was a very vague agreement, and that essentially you're trying to advance social causes in that agreement. How do you respond to that?
Well, you know, on this one, I just want to be clear. the Secretary of the Treasury, the Department of Justice, and other federal agencies looked around, saw that we had started hiring a lot of people who know an awful lot about mortgages and how mortgage markets work. I want to be clear, people from the industry, people who've studied it from the academic world, and they asked for our assistance. They said, give us your advice. Tell us, what you think about this. We told them what we thought. We're not leading the negotiations. We have no statutory authority here. But I'll say this. When asked by someone else in government to help in a law enforcement matter, I am proud to be able to do that, and I would do it anytime.
Ms. Warren, another criticism coming out against consumer protection and also the Durbin Amendment. I interviewed Charlie Scharf from J.P. Morgan about a week ago, and they said that the higher fees are going to result in, or the the narrowing of fees will result in higher costs to them that they'll then have to pass on to the consumer, that it also is going to price some consumers out of the banking market altogether and mean less credit for more people. How do you respond to that? I mean, are you making less credit available to the larger public?
I want to be clear. The Durbin Amendment by statute is not part of the consumer agency. In fact, we are completely walled off from the Durbin Amendment. What we're working on over here on the consumer side is how to make prices clear, how to make risks clear, how to make it easy for customers to be able to compare one product to 2 or 3 others. We think that ultimately that's what makes markets work. That's what makes them work for consumers. It's what makes them work for businesses that want to offer good products. And ultimately, it's what works for our whole economy.
Do you think it results in fewer products, though, at the end of the day, fewer choices for consumers, and maybe prices some people out of the market?
I have to be clear. I think making prices clear up front is always good. I don't think there is any circumstance in which hiding the price from a consumer somehow gives the consumer more choices. Prices need to be clear up front. Risks need to be clear up front. If you don't have that, then the customer can't ask the 2 most important questions. The first one, can I really afford this thing? And the second one, can I get it somewhere else at a better deal? Those are the 2 questions that keep us both safe economically and that make markets work. When that information is hidden, when people can't tell prices up front, when risks are obscured back in the fine print, then customers can't do that and markets don't work well. So I believe always prices clear, risks clear, make it easy to compare products. Then innovate like crazy. Go do whatever you want to do. Be a price buster, be heavy on service, have cool new iPhone apps, but keep it out there where customers can see it.
You're walled off from Durbin, but do you support it? Would you say that you support it or do not?
We're walled off from it. We are walled off from it. The consumer agency is not part of the Durbin Amendment, and we're not supposed to be. So I leave that one.
Okay. Ms. Warren, thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Okay. And when we come back, the deadly quake and tsunami in Japan triggering global supply chain fears.
We'll tell you which companies are being impacted the most. We'll be right back.